Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight on our Friday night live webinars. We will be starting. You've probably been following a few of us for the past week or so, where we've done a live 4-part series with myself and with the two dentists, Dr. Lee Ostler from Richland, Washington, and Dr. Bill Williams from Atlanta, Georgia, and also with our famous MC, Jim Glenn. So we've decided to open it up and invite some other superstars to come join us and give us their perspective on redox signaling and on having a plan B and having a plan for the future. So with us tonight is also Dr. Avi Herskowitz, who started his career as a cardiologist from Johns Hopkins. I'm sorry, I'm going to cough. Hang on. Take over, Jim. I'm an ugly.
So we've got Dr. Avi Herskowitz. You're in San Francisco?
That's correct.
I can't even pronounce the majority of things that you have done, Doctor. And it is an honor to have you here with us tonight. And so we really, really thank you. And then one of my all-time favorites is up the guy with the funky hairdo. Sorry, Doc.
Einstein.
Yeah, Einstein look. But Dr. Richard Michal is absolutely amazing. And I kind of have a little bit of a kinship to him because my grandfather played football at the University of Duke, which is your medical school alma mater, if I understand correctly. So with that, Maureen, is there anything else you want to add real quick?
No, sorry about the cough. I did get tested. I'm negative, just so you know. But anyway, we brought everybody together tonight to kind of further explain a little bit about the science and why we're so passionate about it as medical experts and healthcare experts. And my background, since I didn't say, is I am by training an anesthesiologist and a pain management specialist, but I've actually been educating people about redox signaling molecules for the past 7 years now, and I do this full time. So all of us have had a personal experience with these products, which has made us so excited about sharing it. But there's also an opportunity here that has become very much apparent that it's necessary in these days where our entire economy has been shut down. So we thought we would bring this group together to teach you a little bit more about the science, about what is real about this, why it's so important for you to know about it, for the people that you know and love and care about, and to teach you a little bit about how you can help us get the word out. So thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Maureen. You know, guys, I'm coming from a place, Ann and I are, I was a stockbroker for 30 years. And I'll be very honest with you, when my best friend shared this material with me, I had a hard time understanding it. And all I knew is what it did for me. Now, you guys are all medical, and Dr. Michal, let's start with you. What was it that got you to believe in these redox molecules? Was it an experience? Was it your understanding of what these molecules do? How did you come to learn about this?
Well, Jim, you know, I hate to admit it, but I'm of an older age category. When they talk about the older patient, I guess I'm morphing into that demographic. So what I mean by that is I'm out of my training. I'm out of my basic science training. When I came headlong into this field of redox biochemistry, quite honestly, it was a major health challenge in my family that ran right up into the wall. You know, when your grandkids are having challenges and you as a doctor are impotent, and then as a grandpa, you're impotent. That's a very, very tough emotional and intellectual place to be in. And that's kind of honestly where I was. But they discovered redox biochemistry in the form of this. So that got my attention, but quite honestly, when I heard the first phrase, redox signaling molecules, I had one page in my biochemistry book about it that I recall, and that was it. So I'm faced with this incredible conundrum. This is making a huge change in an N of about 3 or 4. The only trouble is they're immediately known to me. So I had to go discover a little bit about what this was all about, and spent hundreds of dollars on textbooks. Went back. Now, I wouldn't recommend most people on this call that hear this that you go do that. You don't have to do that, but I had to because of my training, what I do. And honestly, I was intrigued. So, so it was an experience because I'm too busy taking care of patients, way too busy to delve into basic sciences once again. But it was an immersion process, and it's kind of I think of it as the biggest scientific breakthrough in my career, for sure.
Wow, thank you. Dr. Herskowitz, how did you come to hear about these little fleeting, amazing miracle molecules?
Well, I attended an integrative medicine meeting in San Francisco, and someone introduced me to it at a booth. So under Maureen's sort of tree, and I run a fairly sophisticated integrative medical sort of center in San Francisco, and have people coming all the time for various intravenous therapies with various types of disorders, anywhere from autoimmune disorders, cancer, even optimizers and professional athletes. So I was blessed right away by being able to sense a difference as soon as I got exposed to it. So that's around, there's a certain proportion of us that can feel something immediately, and it's hard to argue with that. So once I came back to the office, I put around 100 people on it at the practice, and so we got a broad experience in the first few months, and that was around 4 to 5 years ago. So we know a lot more about it now, but basically, like Dr. Michal just said, I mean, it's experiential is the most powerful way to look at it. Now, I could spend the next 55 minutes talking to you about, reduction oxidation and the cellular messengers and how it soaks up reactive oxygen species. And usually when I explain it to my captain of the football team's son, he goes into a deeper coma. And so I don't do that anymore because it's not a worthwhile venture.
Right.
But he wishes that all of his teammates were on it, because he can do more than they can. So it increases cellular efficiency, and that makes your repair faster. And ultimately, that's how I feel on it. And I don't know, my estimate is around 2/3 of the people do that. They can sense something happening immediately. The other third need to take it for a month or so before they can notice something. But when you're chronically ill or chronically want to improve your overall health, it's worthwhile to take it for a few months and see where you are, because once you can either feel it going forward or you end up feeling it going backward. When people say, well, I didn't really have much of an effect, and then they go off it and they say, oh, I want it back, please, because I now notice the subtleties that were involved. So the anti-inflammatory effects that are subtle. And so I have less joint pain, I have less stiffness, I have more cognitive function, whatever it ends up to be. So basically the experience of most of the people that take it is solid and good. So ultimately that is the telltale sign that this stuff works. Now it has a deep molecular basis, and understanding that Nobel Prizes are going to be won in this area for many generations to come, because mitochondria are the source of our aging, our natural aging processes. And if we can make them more efficient, we will all be better off for it. The economy will be better off for it, and our quality of life will be better off for it. So it's an interesting set of science, but the fact is it seems to work.
Wow, thank you. Maureen, a lot of people are going to be watching this that have never seen this before. They've never seen this material before. They've never met you or Dr. Lee or Dr. Bill next. Could you just briefly share your personal journey what these molecules have done for you in the event people have not, they don't know who you are?
Sure. I was first introduced to redox molecules about 7.5 years ago. And I was talking to a friend that I knew from another business. When I had my clinic open here in Galveston at the University of Texas Medical Branch, I had an integrative pain clinic, mostly because I wanted to be able to treat my patients more holistically. I wanted to be able to offer them something more than just another pill, another procedure. And so I had gotten certified in acupuncture. I had learned about mind body, energy medicine, excuse me, different things like that. And so I was using products from a Japanese wellness company, had to do with infrared magnetics, things like that, that really complemented what I was doing for them with Western medicine. And so I had used that company, the products from that company, until we had a hurricane shut our hospital down. And so I thought I would just go into business with that company full time, but that didn't work out well. So I ended up going back into training for something called age management medicine, which is kind of concierge medicine. It's to help people grow old optimally, because we all want to be old. We all want to, be over 100 or at least in our 90s, whatever, but we don't want to be in wheelchairs. We want to be fully functioning and having fun and mountain climbing, golfing, doing whatever we love to do. And so that study allows that. So I had gone into that. And at the same time, I had talked to a friend of mine who was in that company, but had left it. And I called him and I said, I don't understand why you left. He was extremely successful with that company. And I said, I know why I left, but I don't know why you left. And he said, well, I came across something revolutionary. It's a breakthrough. And I said, okay, what is it? And when he told me that it was something made from salt water, I live on the Gulf Coast, by the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. I have salt water. So I wasn't highly impressed, but he sent me a few videos. And what he didn't know at the time is that my husband, who is a pediatric anesthesiologist and stem cell researcher, had just gone through a life-threatening disease that luckily we live in Texas close to MD Anderson. They treated him there. He was disease-free, but the treatment left him highly compromised. He went from being an athlete of sorts, still running 8 to 10 miles a day, to having to use oxygen to watch TV. So very big change in the quality of his life. And as two doctors, we just did not see that coming. When you have a really scary diagnosis, you will do whatever your doctors tell you to do. You kind of follow them blindly. And, there's this sense that you should be thankful. And we were very grateful and very thankful that he was still alive, but we didn't realize how different he would be at the end of the therapy. So here comes these salt water molecules, these redox molecules, which I had never heard of. I'm a little older than Dr. Michael, so I guess I didn't even get that one page. Really, it goes back to the Krebs cycle. And, I started looking into it. I went to pubmed.gov, which is, Google for healthcare professionals, and saw that there were a number, at that point, it was 6,000 or 7,000 references to redox on PubMed. And interestingly, my medical school, the Medical University of South Carolina, had just around that time gotten a $10.5 million NIH COBRA grant to study redox signaling molecules in the body, with cardiovascular, diabetes, orthopedics, aging, obesity, all sorts of things. And here I was, now as an anesthesiologist, maybe this wouldn't come across my desk, but I was like, wow, there is this whole field of science that I know nothing about. And it had literally been around for almost 20 years, I guess, since the discovery of nitric oxide. So I really got interested. And of course, we jumped in. I put my husband on the product. Now, unlike Dr. Herskowitz, we did not have an immediate response. In fact, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I was trying to use that, but I was a little past the 30 days because we had felt nothing. And my sponsor had said, you're past 30 days, keep drinking. And that was actually wonderful for us because our blessing came at about 6 weeks. So now we know how to help people get through that period, maybe have an experience much sooner, because you don't need to have an experience. It's going to work whether you're aware of it or not, but people really like to have that experience. And, when you feel better, you look better and you perform better, everybody wants that. So my husband is now off oxygen. He's perfectly healthy. We walk the beach. for probably 4 or 5 miles a day during this time, this shutdown. And he's back to doing all the things he loves. He's not running, but he's hiking and sailing and walking and totally back to great health. So we're very, very.
So, Lee, how did you hear about this?
Well, my story is actually routed through my wife. She's had many years of health issues, and her physician, who's an MD, I was highly impressed with him. He has a PhD in pharmacology, spent 6 years doing research in pharmaceutical, and came back into internal medicine. And he looked at us one day and said, "I'm kind of running out of options. I think you should try some redox signaling." I can remember looking at him and asking him what that was. And he said, "Just go Google it, find some and get her on it. Let's see what happens." So I dutifully did that. We found some. I was just blindly, hitting around on the internet. Hadn't met anyone. No one other than that had said anything to me about it. We acquired some and tried it, and it was like, for her, within about 36, 48 hours, it was like flipping a switch. She was one of those that had a very quick, immediate response, and it really got my attention. And so with that kind of evidence, in hand, that after 30 years of chronic health issues, you kind of know the patterns and what's going on. And this was markedly different. And so that's what really captured me. And I'm kind of the OCD guy, and I had to know how the electrons moved on the molecules and how Krebs, cycled and so forth. And then I discovered that it was network marketing. And what I've told people before is that at that point it was like, "Oh no, please don't tell me that. Please, please, please." It was like a chicken bone sideways in my throat. I was really having a tough time swallowing that part. But I thought, well, to be intellectually honest, I'm going to still do the science and try and figure it out. I'm kind of like Dr. Michal. I had to know. And so I did that. And the other part of that was like, if I'm going to get involved in this, if this really is what I think it is, I need to keep my reputation intact. I was a past president of an international health academy. And, I just felt like I had something at stake there so I needed to do the due diligence for me. And so between the experiential evidence that I saw in front of my eyes, and even in my own health a little bit, and the research that I was able to dig up, and as I discovered for myself, not somebody else parroting it to me, this was original research that I went in and I learned about redox signaling and the thousands of diseases and disorders and health systems. I mean, anybody can do this. It's on PubMed. You just type in the words redox signaling and then put in whatever disease or disorder or condition you want. And what the evidence is there's no research. People say, "Well, show me the studies." I was one of those, like, show me the random controlled trials that this really worked.
Right.
Well, there aren't any. And I think this is an important, we're all health professionals here. And I think one of the tipping points for all of us was in understanding the history of this company and how this product actually even came to be, that it was going down a pharmaceutical pathway to be a drug to treat some very, very serious medical conditions about 10 years ago. And everybody can go on, the website and see the Genesis video and see the backstory for that. But as a health professional, that was very compelling because this was a product first that came out of research, and then it was looking for a distribution method. And after I understood that and realized that they could have gone into any distribution channels such as Amazon or brick and mortar or whatever, but they chose this one for a strategically important reason, because this plays at the lowest level of health. This is at the epigenetic level of health. That's what drives cellular health. And all the other things kind of do. I mean, so when you talk about cellular health and herbs and exercise and magnets and vitamin D, all those biooxidative therapies, they also play at this level. But this is unique because it is isolated, it's bioidentical, and it replenishes the cell with what the mitochondria makes in the first place, that we make less of as we age. All of that was extremely important to my mind. As I brought those pieces together, then for me, what made sense was, okay, I'm going to jump in because this is something I can get behind. I do want a plan B. I think, you're the stockbroker. It's your type that's always been telling me that I need to diversify. And so I'm thinking, okay, there's a story to be told there about diversification. So for me, it's become an important part now of my career, the balance of my professional life, as well as just being a person, to share this with people and see them benefit as we have.
Yeah, being a human being. And then you've known Bill for quite a while.
For a long time.
Bill, what was it that you saw in Lee? Because I think you're really, in the beginning, were the only one that really didn't have an experience. Was his enough for you to get you to join?
It was. Lee and I have been buddies for 35 years, and this just came along 2 years ago. And our relationship was deeper. And so my trust in Lee, I know his habits of digging into science. So I didn't have to go dig the science out for myself because he had already vetted it.
Right.
And I did a little research and, have found out enough since then to understand glutathione is one of the major factors. And there's a lot of other parts to it too, but for our practice and all, for the things we do in dentistry, this inflammation and glutathione is huge benefit to us. But, Lee told me about it in his wife's situation. I've known her for 30 years and I knew exactly what he was talking about. Miracles do happen. And this came close to that level. Back in the 35 years ago, I was studying with Bob Proctor, who came up with the multiple sources of income concept. And it was always interesting to me to look for areas in my dental practice to expand and improve. And so I've developed a career of teaching dentists over the last 35 years, where they look to me for new innovations in dentistry, new innovations in making side gig income, for instance. So there's a lot of things that I look for, and I immediately recognized when Lee was showing me this, that it was not just a scientific breakthrough, but it was also an income potential that nobody had tapped in the dental profession. Nobody in dentistry was talking about it. And it had such an effect. When I first bought it as a product to use personally, I got results. I got changes in my awareness, my sleep, my acuity, small things, because I didn't have any noticeable illnesses. But I did have a blood test that had a lot of high values, the cholesterols, the triglycerides, LDLs, CRP was, off the charts. And so I didn't feel bad, but I had some numbers. And so, a year later, after that, taking the ASEA for that long, I did have normal blood chemistries all across the board. CRP went from 10 down to 4.9. Things like that caught my attention. But the thing that really caught my attention, number one, I would tell you this, I do a lot of implant surgery, reconstructions, and my patients heal so fast with so much less discomfort, if any discomfort, after doing 8 or 10 extractions and 4 or 5 implants per arch, and they wake up the next morning, they don't even have any pain. They heal twice as fast as they used to. This gets my attention very fast. And I tend to promote to other dentists the benefits of having a patient on this preoperatively as a protocol. It's made a big difference in our practice. It's made a significant difference in all the family members who are taking it. So I'm a true believer. You don't have to convince me of the science, even though I understand it.
Right.
I see the clinical result.
I want to ask a big question. I think it's the big gorilla in the room. You guys are all medical professionals. I know, Maureen, you did a little bit of network marketing. I didn't have any exposure to network marketing when I was a broker. Dr. Michal, Dr. Herskowitz, how did you overcome that if that was an issue for you? How did you deal with that? It's network marketing. Because a lot of medical people that people talk to out in the field and we talk to, is like, I've had people flat out ask me, is it one of those things? And I go, praise God, it is, yes. But how did you guys deal with that? Yeah. Dr. Michal, how did you deal with that? Or was that an issue for you? Or how would you talk to a doctor out there maybe, or a medical professional, listening to the stories are phenomenal, the science is real. That's resolved. There's no fear or doubt. Now we know it's real. But how is it delivered to the people is what some people have a problem with.
Well, in this case, it's the power of one person telling another person. Videos, and we have different ways that people learn. Some people learn by reading, some people learn better by seeing. But honestly, what I've seen throughout all of this, and I just remark, looking back on my family's experience, it was the power of one person telling another person about something that you probably have never heard of. You're not going to see it. Somebody asked me recently, would you ever see this on an advertisement, TV, radio? I said, no, that's the way this company chose to market this product. Now, you can make arguments all over the case, but that's how this company is bringing this scientific breakthrough to the world. And so I'm not there to argue their methodology. I'm there to say, I can come alongside of that. And it was foreign to me. I had no experience with it previously, but I also get to know my patients holistically as well as a family doc. And there are parts of people's lives that involves more than just their health. It involves their financial health as well. And during this downturn, I'm seeing the bad side of life, where people feel helpless and hopeless, and they're running up against a brick wall. And I think someone mentioned it tonight, having a plan B or an option 2, diversification. This is incredibly important. And to overlook that piece of this, that this is offering people, is kind of crazy, really. So it's a holistic way to approach. And I think the company has done a great job, because if you just want to use the product, go for it.
Right.
But if you want to use the product and you want to look into the financial potential, go for it. So it gives that double-pronged approach that I think those of us that treat patients holistically, I can actually get my arms around that.
Dr. Herskowitz?
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Michael. I think for me, it was initially a new thing too. I never had participated in anything like that. I was a straight academic from Hopkins and UCSF, so there was no reason for me to be involved in this. I was coming into being vice president and president of a national integrative medicine society. So I wanted to protect my reputation. So I first sort of spread the experience across patients that I knew would be very diligent in terms of reporting. And ultimately, they helped me get over the fact that this was a network marketing product. And then I realized something that I think Dr. Michael just said, which is fairly profound, and that is that it's the way to get people's attention into things that do work is with storytelling. Mm-hmm. It's not on the science side, it's through the stories. And I'm the one that people go to and say, okay, go up to the whiteboard and start doing the arrows and the the nitrogens, and move the electrons over here and there, and move those mitochondrial cristae over, and tell me what the complex 1 and 4 is and all. So, I've done that in academics, and a professor at UCSF for the cardiology fellows for years. And the fact is, they hate when I talk about vitamin D because it's too boring. They don't like to talk about mitochondria because mitochondria are the sort of the centerpiece of everything. So you can't treat someone with 10 different medicines if you have a mitochondrial formula on board, because you won't need but 2 of them instead of 10. So they don't like that. My academic friends don't like this. So they love it when they say, oh, it tastes like salt water, and they go, ugh, Meanwhile, the patients and the colleagues that are open-minded enough and saying, listen, I just want to have access to things that can work in the gap, because Dr. Michael said you don't want to be left with no options. And most of the people I see now in this integrative sort of network that I have are people who have no options. Well, this is an option to pursue. So yes, you can make it into a business. You can add it to lines of revenue, which I think, why would anyone not be sort of attracted to that? Although I didn't use it for that reason, much to the, much to the dismay of all the people that are above me. But it isn't my thing. But at the same time, I do enjoy getting some return for that investment of time and effort that I've put into this, because I do keep up and I do help others to keep up as well. So I think that it's a win-win, and if you can make if you can develop new lines of revenue in this times, let alone any time, that's a great thing. Now I can say that being on the scientific board periodically on and off with the ASEA group, I think the reputation, my reputation has never been in danger. And when you look at the healing that Dr. Williams talked about, this is profound. Preoperative and postoperative healing is profound, whether it's dental or surgical. And that's other stuff that ASEA makes, not just the water. This Renew 28, I think, is one of the single most potent products out there in the world today. So we haven't talked about it. But I think that these things protect your reputation. And then if you're interested in making it into a business, then that's an option. And I think that those are great things.
I'd like to ask you one more question. How do you deal with the fact that this is not FDA?
Well, because it's sort of every cell in the body has redox molecules, so they could have developed it as a medicine, as a drug for one indication, and then we could use it for anything else. That would have roughly cost somewhere between 250 million to $1 billion. So if you went for a cardiac indication, for example, it would be on the upper end. If you went for a wound healing indication, it would be on the lower end. And they chose to get it distributed, as Dr. Michal said, in this way. And Lee Ostler also said it. This is what they chose to do to get it out there. And that's no different than any other supplement, any food grade supplement, anything that intervenes in normal cellular processes. And something, one of the weirder things about this is I'm involved in drug development, and I do work with companies that are dealing with mitochondrial function. And as late as 5 years ago, the FDA had no ability to understand mitochondrial modulation. They said, how could it be that one thing could impact on every animal model you ever tested it on?
Right.
And that's the criticism that you get often. You go, well, how is that possible? It must be bull crap. And that the reason that works is because it's fundamental process. So it can affect anywhere from cognitive function to wound healing to cardiac function to kidney function. All this, it goes on and on and on, or autoimmunity for that matter, or immune modulation. Well, they didn't have a template to understand how to even think about it. So right now, there are enough PhDs in mitochondrial function to fill up a big auditorium, when in the past you couldn't find a single one. So things are happening. And right now, we don't expect our supplements, even the high-grade supplements, to be FDA approved. It's not necessary. And in the future, when someone has a spare $1 billion, they may take that route. But right now, this is the way we are developing our experience. And the other thing is safety, okay?
Yeah.
We haven't discussed that. These are exceptionally safe compounds. If you're interested, we can get into much great detail on the few cases where you have to be cautious or go slower than the average dose, but it's rare. So these are exceptionally safe things to use. which also helps. So it's never gotten the eye or never gotten the attention of FDA because these are such safe approaches, like saying taking vitamin D, it's safe. Well, yeah, I don't want I don't want my vitamin D level to be 100-fold increased, but for the average person in extensive use, it's safe. So all those things taken into account. So I'm not worried about it, and I don't worry about explaining it to anyone. I don't explain it to anyone anymore because my patients and my clients, or my friends for that matter, don't seem to care anymore about FDA that much.
Thank you very much. Now, to me, the other side of the coin, we've talked about the product. The other side of the coin for me is the financial blessing that can come from this. It's been talked, Bill, that's one of your fortes, and Lee as well. How do you explain the financial potential? Well, it's pretty easy right now. The majority, how many people are unemployed right now? How do you give people hope right now? How do you share with them that this is real? I think we validated that. You don't need to be afraid. It's safe. Everyone on here has had an amazing experience, so try the product. And I love the way Dr. Carmen Keith said it. If you don't share this, what'd she say?
You would be selfish if you
It's
didn't.
very selfish.
Yeah.
Because if that's why we're here tonight. If people don't hear about this from us, you're not going to hear about it. Dr. Michal, can you talk real quick about, are you making this a plan B for you? Do you see the potential? Do you have patients that you talk to about this, or do you just kind of let that drift on by? And then Lee and Bill, if you don't mind answering that too, please.
Well, because of a change in my practice, where I'm going from a volume practice to more of a concierge type practice, where literally I'm doing testing with markers that I've never looked at before. And there's been some mention of some markers, and we can actually attempt to look at markers in the blood to get a picture of someone's degree of health and where they may have some challenges that they don't even know about. I say that in preparation for saying that this week I've actually talked to people about some options. And actually I approached one patient. I said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how open are you to non-pharmacologic interventions? I just want to know, where you're coming from so that I know what options to lay before you. And so they more and more people are slanting away from pharmacologic options.
Right.
There's some concerns there. And as been mentioned before, this is a supplement. There's no toxicity. And so it has some has some attractive things for folks to look at. So as recent as this week, yes, I'm offering it as an option in a therapeutic approach to a person's health. But it's a supplement. This is totally different from a pharmacologic agent.
What about showing it as a potential income option for people? Because a lot of people are hurting right now. And I've asked multiple people, what are your options? If this is real, we validated it is. How big is the market? It works on everything alive. How big is our market? Well, it's everybody. And if you want a part of that, you don't have to. You can just take the product. But if you want to share in part of the blessing of sharing it with other people, and then I think Maureen loves saying to getting the thank you check and we get paid in goosebumps. How big do you think that is here? How big is this opportunity, doctor?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's huge. And again, not having come from this industry previously, what I've learned about it is it's an unlimited potential for folks. And, just think about, I often will say, hey, they don't give this product away for a good reason. If you want to, we can show you ways in which the company will actually make it possible for you to eventually, cover the cost of your product and then beyond that. So just as, you know, we can't direct these molecules to go to a certain body part,
Right.
to a certain area. You know, again, it's a matter of getting to know the person you're talking to, throwing that opportunity before them and seeing what their response is. And, you know, I think the great thing that I see in this industry right now is there are tool sets, and you learn teamwork, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my practice that I've developed for over 35 years, it will not function with me by myself. It just will not function. You know, just like our bodies need multiple layers of cooperation, my clinic has needed multiple layers of cooperation. In fact, sometimes my staff saves the patient's day if I'm having a bad one. But the point being is that, you know, this is a team approach, which is very much appreciated. And I think the tool sets, the things are there now that make it much more available to people looking at it as a business. I mean, I don't know of any business that you can start for $40 and hire an executive secretary for $20 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't see that, you know, so.
Thank you. Lee, I know this is one of your favorite topics, you and Bill and Maureen and me, us.
Well, for me, once I had the medicine side down, you know, this is where I morphed. And I think that I'll just start with directing people to a website that I put up, backupplanasset.com. I put a white paper up that talks about the idea of what is an asset equivalent. Because we work, everybody here, you know, whether we have high or, you know, low professional incomes, we work a career length of time putting money aside with people like who you used to be as a stockbroker, or in some vehicle that could, with compound interest in time, create an asset that we could then draw upon at a point in time that we call retirement or whatever, so that we could quit working and enjoy hopefully a life of leisure or whatever, however we want to use our time. And because of the rules of investing and so on and so forth, it takes 20, 30 years to accomplish that.
Right.
And in a perfect world, it works good. You know, the earlier you start, age 18, age 23, whatever, by the time you're 60, 65, you know, it works. But it's not a perfect world, and the stock market has hiccups. We just went through a pretty big hiccup. We've had bubbles burst. We've had poor decisions made by everybody on this call for sure, where our investments didn't go like they needed to go, and we don't wind up at a place when we're 55 or 60, 75, whatever, and have the kind of money that we need. So the point of this is about, can you develop a residual income stream? Can I do something aside? I don't care if it's, you know, day trading on the side, or writing books, being an author and selling on Amazon, starting an Amazon business, or mowing lawns. It doesn't matter. But can I do something that would create a residual income stream for me? And if I can, you just think about the numbers. If you had a $5,000 a month income stream, that's the same as having $1 million in the bank earning 6% interest. And that today, that's a pretty good interest rate. So, you know,
It's an impossible interest rate.
right. So if you at 3%, well, now you're at 2 million. The point is if I had something that was creating a residual income like that was dropping into my bank account every month, all these thank you checks, because I've told the number of people, and they've told people, and they've told people, that's the same as having $1 million or $2 million in the bank, which it took me 30 years to do. And the point is if I can grab a vehicle like this and create that kind of an income stream with a product that we've been talking about, this, like it belongs in everybody's body. Imagine the freedom that could give you. And I have like latched on it. This was the other chicken bone. Remember, this was the chicken bone because my family history was not very good with this industry. It cost a lot in emotion and tears in my family, you know, back for the last 30, 40 years. And so I came at this. That's why it was important for me to prove that this was a legitimate thing. And once that happened, then it's like, now I get the money side, because Jim, you're the one that pointed out to me the rule of 72. I'd heard that before, that if you're 35, 45, 55, and you haven't got it put together enough, you don't have enough time left for your money to double in the marketplace at what we call compound interest. And so this whole residual income stream concept is about generational compounding. It's a leverage that can only happen. I can't sell enough one-on-one to customers directly, one-on-one, just me. I can't sell enough of this or anything to become wealthy ever. But if I can sell one that can make it to two, can go to four, I mean, that whole traditional thing, which obviously gets bad press in the past, and I'm grateful that legislation has cleaned that side of the industry up. But if I can leverage that to my benefit, then I have compounding in a generational leveraged way, and I don't need compounding in a time interest way. I can accelerate, because 5,000 a month residual income coming from this is the same as having $1 million in the bank earning 6% interest.
Right.
That's assuming you have $1 million, and it's assuming you have 6% interest rates.
Right.
You can do the math from there. So backupplanasset.com, I walk you through that process. You put yourself in that equation, and you can see where you're at and why something like this would make sense. You just kind of get over it. You know,
Yeah.
Get over it, go to the back of the room, sign up. For $40, you bought a company. You don't have to put websites up. The marketing is done for you. Everything is done for you except sharing.
Bill, can you talk about an important concept, which is leverage?
Leverage is what we all want and we don't have. As dentists, we're tied to the chair with those golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
A lot of physicians are probably in the same boat. They own a mom and pop store. Basically, you work for your living with your hands. And so leverage comes from owning a chain of businesses or having a slew of hygienists working for you. But it's always limited to a certain number. And when you can earn some small amount of money off of the work of many, many people, that's the value of leverage. And we leverage thousands of people in a network marketing business. So, I like to say that being a network marketing doctor is like a one-person franchise. Chick-fil-A is the best franchise there is, bar none. Chick-fil-A averages per store $4.4 million of sales. The next three below it added up don't even add up to that. And so why is the Chick-fil-A so much better? Well, if you study it, the people that founded it have higher quality of moral structure. You know who Truett Cathy was.
Yeah, code of ethics. Yeah.
You have extensive training. The people that train Chick-fil-A employees are far and above any other franchise. And then you have delivery of service at the point of service with the customer, bar none the best. And that one-on-one franchise model for us as an ASEA associate is like we have all that built into ours too. Same as Truett Cathy, we've got the man who came up and say, okay, I'm going to turn ASEA, this redox signaling molecule, into a business that the ordinary man can be a part of instead of giving it to big pharma.
Exactly.
We've got the diamond structure of people that train us, that lead us and guide us. We've got the excellent product. Chick-fil-A has the best chicken sandwich out there. Nobody doubts that. Well, ASEA is one of the most powerful products out there. It may be a supplement, but that doesn't mean it's not powerful. It can do more for what it is than anything else you could put in the body. It's not a shotgun approach, but it's close. It hits everything.
Right. Maureen, you're the one doctor here that you decided to go full-time into this part-time gig thing. Why?
Well, I'll tell you, I got the bug probably over 20 years ago when I was chief of anesthesia at a hospital up in Marlborough, Massachusetts. And another doctor came into my office and he said, "Do you shop on the internet?" And the internet was still pretty new. I'm really dating myself. It's pretty new back then. And he said, you can make money. And he started drawing these circles and sticks on a piece of paper. And it was network marketing. And I had never heard of it. And I didn't know what it was. And I literally took him out to the office, out into the hallway, so he could read my name on the door and see how important I was. That's how arrogant and ignorant I was. But I was really unhappy. My husband and I were not seeing each other. We were two ships passing in the night. Somebody else was raising my kid. I never saw him. I'd drop him off at the babysitter when it was still dark and pick him up late at night. And even though we had all the trappings of success, I was miserable. I loved being a doctor, but I also wanted my life back. And it wasn't until I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and the second book called Cash Flow Quadrant that actually speaks what a lot of these other doctors are referring to with leverage and investing and what you can do. And I realized that even though I was a physician, I was a high paid employee. And even if you own your business, you have a job, you bought yourself a job. And so in order to be able to get into that investment, into a business side or an investment, I had to think outside the box. And one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki talked about was network marketing. And so I actually went back to that person, joined that. Now, I was a terrible failure at network marketing for probably the first 10 or so years that I did it or more. But actually, when I joined this one, I had mentioned I had gone back into training for concierge medicine, and that was very expensive, the age management medicine. And I'm going to talk about something that somebody put in the chat line about this being expensive. Let me tell you, if you want to be a patient of a concierge doctor, that can cost you, for age management, can cost you between $10,000 and $20,000 a year. And that doesn't even include your supplements and your hormones and things like that. Very, very expensive. So I finished that training and I came home and I said to my husband, we had gotten started. We had been on these products for about 6 months. And I said, you know what? I don't know too many of my friends, and they're pretty well paid, who can afford another $20,000, $20,000 out of pocket on top of all their other expenses. But I know a lot of people who value their health and can come up with a couple of $100 a month in order to ensure that they have optimal cellular function throughout their life. And it's not just what you're taking care of now, it's what you're preventing in the future, right? And so I did it because I felt, as a doctor, I had a moral obligation. Like you were saying, Dr. Carmen Keith, you have to go out. It's selfish not to share this. And so I decided to go out and be a full-time educator. And you know what? When you help other people, it's amazing the return you can get on that. And I love it. I kind of had that bug. I thought I've seen a lot of people be successful in network marketing. I've never seen network marketing done so elegantly and in such a sophisticated way as this company. It's beautiful. It's not your typical network marketing company. It's just a wonderful way to work as a team and share information and help a lot of people have success.
When someone brings up the fact that it's expensive, look, I've had 10 back surgeries. And as a financial advisor for 30 years, I did a lot of estate planning. And I saw a lot of families when they had an ill parent or a child or anybody. I've seen a lot of money saved up for future years gone, because you never know what's going to happen. And I will tell anybody, if you're even a baby boomer and your parents are still alive, or if you're a 20-something or a 30-something year old, just think about what's going to happen when something happens to your parents and they need help and they can't afford their care. The parents are going to end up rebounding back to their children's home, and then you're going to have children having to pay to take care of their parents. Now, children, adult children, you want to make sure your parents stay healthy. You want to get them a SIA. And don't just think that it's only for those of us that have been sick or ill. If you're healthy, you want to capture and keep your health. Real quick, in closing, can this stuff not work? Dr. Michal, I don't know if Dr. Herskowitz, can this stuff not work? I mean, am I going to be uniquely different, or is she going to be weird and different and it won't work on her? Or does it work every time real quick for each of you? And then how big do you see this getting? How big of an opportunity?
You know, based on the biochemistry alone, and based on the fact that it goes to every cell, you know, who wants to get one of these and constantly be at 1 bar of signal?
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to sign up for that service? I don't think you want that service, because as amazing a piece of technology as this is, it won't function to its optimal efficiency without the signal to go with it. And, you know, honestly, now, if you don't ever use all the pieces that this gives you, then you may not know what you're missing. You may not know what you're missing. But if you're used to, so I would say that it's potential that you may not be aware of how it's helping you, even after 90 days. You know, the fact is that probably 90% of people will have an aha of some kind.
Right.
But it's working in your body no matter whether you feel it or you don't feel it, because of the basic biochemistry of how amazing this breakthrough is. So that's what I would say to that.
You know, guys, because if you really do take a step back and understand what we're saying, what we have, it does sound impossible. Like I say, if there's anything out there that sounds like snake oil, this is it.
Well, I have something to say though, okay?
Yeah, please. I was going to ask.
Okay. This is the way I would explain it, okay? When we all aspire to be like centenarians, right? We
Yeah.
all aspire to be, you know, doing high quality of life later on in life. And the fact of the matter is that centenarians die from the same stuff that we do in our 70s and 80s. It's the same stuff. They get it delayed by 20 to 25 years. They have it delayed because they have certain genetic advantages over the average person. And those genetic advantages all deal with these types of pathways that are involved in redox molecules. It isn't the fountain of youth, but it is integrated into that system that explains why they can delay the same things that happen to the rest of us by 20 to 25 years. So that goes to Dr. Michael's point of saying some people just won't feel anything because sometimes you feel like a 70-year-old and sometimes you feel like a 69-year-old. How do you tell the difference? Well, sometimes the differences are subtle, and the differences in how you look and how you feel. So ultimately, it's not this. So ultimately, it has the true basis in the science, but it has basis in what we want to accomplish as we get older. Now, my 18-year-old doesn't care about that. He just wants to run faster. My 27-year-old, though, does care because he says, oh, you know, I'm feeling a little bit stiffer today. And all the patients that we see in our clinics all feel that way. And say, listen, Dr. Williams, I don't know what you just gave me, but I woke up tomorrow. I woke up the next day after surgery and I don't feel a damn thing. So, but the example it tends to get to everyone is saying, listen, I want to be like the centenarians. Well, the centenarians are what we all aspire to, and these mechanisms all involve mitochondrial function, and so there we go.
Wow,
That's awesome.
thank you, Bill. How big is this going to be?
It's going to be like Kleenex on your counter, Ajax in your kitchen. It's going to be like an ordinary product in everybody's home. You know, it's going to be a staple. You're going to go and do your ASEA just like you do your Crest toothpaste.
Lee, how much competition do we have?
If all 6 of us on this panel were MBAs, and we were sitting here dialing this in with this investment portfolio mindset about where's the marketplace going to be, think about something that everybody on the planet has and needs. We're not talking about a fingernail product. We're not talking about a skin only product or an eyesight or a crow's feet product or a gray hair product. We're talking about something that every individual And we could argue every pet, every animal on the planet can benefit from a health point of view, because it does what Dr. Avi was just talking about. It regulates and helps set in order the genetic pathways that drive cellular health. That's the most fundamental level. And so when you think that way, as the MBA would be saying, it's like, where is the marketplace moving? We want to get in front of that. It's not, there's some great companies out there that have wonderful products.
Yes.
They're legacy companies. They've been around for decades and they're doing a great service. They all have great products and we don't disparage any of them. But if you were an MBA asking the question, where do I want to be right now with my money in the marketplace? Where I want to be is in front of the next big thing. And mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular health, epigenetic gene expression is the next big thing, because it's ubiquitous, it's global. Every person on the planet needs this. And people who lament, well, then how come it's free? Or I don't feel it. It's like, I don't feel vitamins either, but I still take them every day because I'm smart enough to know that vitamins serve a purpose. But my point is, we would be dialing ourselves into where is the next wave. And this company is parked this strategically. It goes back to watch the Genesis video at amazingmolecules.com and think of the genius in the Genesis about why they put it in this format so that people could tell people about it. This isn't traditional in that sense for that specific reason, because it helps everything. It's not if this was a pharmaceutical, we'd only be allowed to talk about one on-label claim, and everything else would be prohibited to talk about. This is now ubiquitously, any cell in the body will work better when this is on board. So, you just got to get your MBA hat on and say, if I had a product like that, where would I want to position it? What marketplace would I want to position it in front of? And then just think that through with the power of generational compounding. That's the genius.
Maureen, close us out.
Hey, the doctors have all said it so beautifully. The only thing that I would add is just keep it simple. You don't have to have an MD, PhD, or be a top dentist or a financial advisor to share this with people. If you know people who want to look better, feel better, perform better, share this with them. This is probably one of the greatest gifts that we have. And it's been an incredible blessing to my family. And if the only thing it ever did was give me my husband back, that would have been enough. But the fact that I've been able to share this with thousands of people all over the world is just, as a physician, it's like a dream come true. And to have something that's totally non-toxic and this powerful is just mind-blowing. So please, if you haven't tried it for yourself, do your own case study, as we like to say, see what it does for you, get with somebody who can walk you through it, can educate you about it, make sure that you have a good response. And even if you don't, like Dr. Lee and Dr. Avi and Dr. Bill, we're all saying, audience participation is not necessary. You don't feel your vitamins, and a few people, I think about 10%, may not feel this. But just like Dr. Bill was talking about his labs changing, that was the first thing that happened for me. And I didn't feel a thing, but great things were happening in my body. So share this with as many people as you can. Let's make a difference, and let's be a force for good in the world. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Fear and doubt. We all have fear and doubt in the beginning, but this is going to give you the knowledge that you know. Lee's already done all the due diligence. Bill believed Lee. Lee found Maureen. Dr. Michael, you're phenomenal. Dr. Herskowitz, guys, we have a gift.
Yeah.
And like Maureen just said beautifully, we are the advertising budget for this company. 80% of the cost of a product taken to the market is in marketing, advertising. That's us. Yeah. And I say, instead of giving all those proceeds to all the big pharma, why not the little guys? Or the big guys like these doctors. You don't have to be a doctor to share it. All you have to do is to have a heart. Right. And I recommend, I don't know who said it, but watch the Genesis video. Get back to the person that invited you to the call. When you watch the Genesis video and you see the heart of Vertus Norton and Tyler Norton, you will understand why it did go networking. No, it's not silly saltwater. Do not go to Amazon and buy this product. Do not go to get back to the person that invited you to this We are a distributor-led firm. Do not go to a non-distributor, which is Amazon or eBay. Do not go to Google to do your research. You just got your research right here.
Yeah.
And guys, we have a gift.
Yeah.
Help us.
Yeah.
Like Vertus Norton said, we're giving it out to you to help us share this throughout the world. So guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording, I think. Hold on, and then we'll kind of chit chat a little bit more. Okay, I stopped that. And